Good day everyone, welcome to Cactus Caffeine. My name is Anna. In this channel I share with you my passion for growing cactus and other desert plants over a cup of coffee. And no, I don't live in Hawaii. I just love Hawaii, so I have this mug. And for today I am going to make my spring update in my cactus collection. It is still spring, but oh boy, does it feel like summer already here. Our temperature here are reaching 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I think yesterday we reached 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but here in my backyard, you know, microclimate, it's even warmer because we're surrounded by concrete here. So this is a concrete jungle in the middle of a city, so the temperature is always warmer here in my backyard. So anyway, in this spring collection update, I will give you an overview of my setup. So I won't go over each and every plant that I have because I got too many. It will take a lot of time, and my cacti are out in my backyard for the most part of the year. I would say from late February up to November, they're out in my backyard. And then when it gets very cold during winter, that's the only time that I bring my cacti, well, not all of them, but the delicate ones, I bring them inside my tiny greenhouse over there, which is now a storage space during spring and summertime. So some of my cacti live in my greenhouse for, I'd say, November, December, January, and probably early February. But for the most part of the year, they are out here chilling. Well, not chilling, more of like cooking or being baked under the sun. So anyway, this is my setup. So I have racks. So this is the back of our house. I have one tall rack there, a shorter rack in here, and then I have a lot now here on the floor because I couldn't make them fit in the rack anymore. I have another rack in here, and then there's a shaded rack in there, another one here. And then my desert garden, which I will bring you over there later on. So my desert gardens are there. And then another desert garden in here. As you can see right now, they are still covered in shade cloth. I still have to bring that shade cloth up. So I don't want it like that because it's covering the plants. I couldn't see them. So I will bring them up and they will be like this later on. And then I will take you around, trying to be very slow so you don't get dizzy. I do have another table here with cactus. And then I have this section here, which is under a tree. I have my hanging ones there. I have another section of my desert garden back there, and some more behind those opuntias by the wall. I will show them to you in a while. And then going back, so I have my Mexican fence post, the tall ones right there. Okay, bringing you around, and then against this greenhouse there is another rack here. So this gets partial sun, more like dappled sunlight. So these are more seedlings, some of the delicate seedlings, not too big yet to go out full sun. So I have them in here. They get early morning sun, and then we go back in here. All right, so let's start in this section. So this section gets morning sun from about 8 o'clock in the morning until around 1 in the afternoon right now. Longer if it is summer, but I do have a 50% shade cloth here, which I recently put up because it is getting very hot in this section, and I saw some of my cacti were showing signs of burning. They were turning yellow, so I decided to put up the shade cloth now. It's just 50%. So in here I have the big pots. So these are really heavy pots, so I have them here on the floor. So I have an arrangement here. This is a nice old man. Ever since I repotted this last fall, it produced, look, 3 pops. This just came up late winter this year, but when I planted this in that pot, it's only this old man right here, and it's growing very fast. Yes, and then this one too, the blue. I love this blue cactus here. And then this is my little parodia that recently produced a yellow flower, but I had two possible suggestions from my viewers, although I am not sure which one really it is. Maybe later on as it grows, I'll be able to properly ID that. Okay, so I have some parodias in here, and oh, this is seedling that I grew from the mother plant is over here. So I got seeds from this mommy plant. I planted the seeds, and then after, I say it's only been 3 years, I would say a little over 3 years. So this came from that plant, and also that one. Okay, so I have an assortment of cacti here on the floor. Okay, and then on this rack, this is my blooming rack. So this gets a good amount of sun. So whenever I have a flower that needs help opening up because it needs sun and heat, so I put them in this rack. It is still very early right now, so not all the flowers are fully opened yet, but I decided to film early because later on it will be too hot in here for me to film. So this one is an Echinopsis Reichenbachii minor. It actually looks like the rainbow hedgehog. Even the flower looks like it, except the spines are not red. So that is the only difference that I can see. But in terms of the flower and the form of the cactus, they look the same. So this one is blooming very nice, very good for me this year. It's on its 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th bloom, 5th flower for this year. This one, this is so pretty. This is a Rebutia cultivar Mandy. I love this one because of the multiple colors of petals on the flowers. Okay, and then I have a gymno here. This is a nice purple Mihanovici, but the flower is not open yet. This will need a lot of heat. Usually gymnos, see, I have several Gymnocalicium in bud or in flower, but they're not open yet. Usually they will open at the hottest part of the day, so later this afternoon. And then this is a Rebutia hiliosa. Nice orange flowers on this one. I bought this one grafted, and I've tried rooting it several times with no success, so I ended up having more or doing more grafts on this one. So I am successful grafting it but not growing it in its own roots. This is a Parodia scopa, a real old one of my first cactus in my collection. It is done blooming, but I will show you a picture of this when it was in full bloom. What else do I have here? So this is a nice prolific bloomer Mammillaria. So is that one. Unfortunately, I don't have their IDs, but they've been blooming for this one, I would say, over a month, and that one maybe 3 to 4 weeks already that it is in bloom. This is a Rebutia albipilosa. Let me check. I write down the names on the pots, but in pencil on terracotta pots. Yes, Rebutia albipilosa. That way, you know, I can still erase the name when I changed the cactus in the pot. Okay, this one, I don't know why it doesn't want to pop. Rebusias usually are prolific poppers or producing a lot of offsets, but somehow this one wants to remain solitary or wants to remain single. But it's blooming, it's blooming. This is a Puna subterranea. Where's that name? Here. So it recently gave me huge blooms. Okay, there's only one left now that is about to open, though there are a few more buds there, but I was surprised. This is the first time that it bloomed for me, and I was surprised how large the flowers are. All right, so this is the what is in the second rack in here. So this is a Copiapoa, a first time bloomer for me. I was surprised at how fast the flowers developed. From the time that I noticed there were buds till today, I would say it was less than 2 weeks. I guess the hot weather, makes them produce their flowers really fast. And then this is Mammillaria bucarillensis. It already did its first flush, but there's a few more buds that are forming. Okay, and then this down here, the ones back there are the ones that needs a little bit more shade, same as in here. Okay, and then from this rack, let's move on to the tall rack back there. So this one's on top, they are too tall, so that's why I placed them up in there. So these are the tall columnar ones, or I cannot see my screen, it's too bright. I also have my bunny ear opuntias tucked back there so I don't accidentally rub on the glow kits. And then there's another tall old man in there. Okay, and then this Tephro cactus, I keep them in here because they're so delicate. Once you bump into them, the segments would easily fall off. That's how I ended up with 2 pots. So one pot was just a segment that fell off from this, and it grew. So anyway, I have a few more pots because of the segments that dropped off. That's why I kept them in here, so I don't accidentally knock them off. Okay, this is an Echinopsis leucomalia cob that recently gave me a good super bloom yellow flowers. And this, I am excited about the fruit of that because I pollinated the flower with my flying saucer Trichocereus. So I'm trying to make the flower of this one bigger by crossing it with the Trichocereus flying saucer. And then let's move down to the second rack. Okay, so initially I had mostly Echinopsis in here, but then I moved them around as they flowered. And then these are the ones that are in buds. So I try not to move them when they are still in buds because Echinopsis, they have the tendency to drop their buds once, their environment changes while they're producing flowers. So once they are in bud, I try not to move my Echinopsis. The Mammillarias don't seem to mind it, but the Echinopsis, yeah, they can be temperamental. If you keep changing their environment, they will eventually drop their buds. They don't like that. Okay, and then down here, as I move down here, these are the ones that get less sun. And the very bottom rack where I have mostly my Haworthias, these get just early morning sun, and then all throughout the day just dappled sunlight like that. So this is where I keep my overgrown they're overgrown, they're desperately in need of repotting. So these are all my Haworthias. Okay, believe it or not, I actually already trimmed them down. Well, not trimmed down, but separated a lot of them last fall and gave some away to my friends, but somehow they grow very fast. Once they grow into a growth spurt, they multiply very fast. Okay, and then from there we are going to move on to this section. Okay, not too much to discuss in this section, but yeah, I do have a few in here. Okay, this will get sun later on during the middle of the day, but they do benefit also from the shade cloth. So as we move over to this rack, this one gets less sun, so most of my seedlings are in here. And oh no, I have one casualty here. This is an Areosis occulta. So this got sunburned before I put on my shade cloth. I had it out there, and this was one of those that got sunburned, but somehow I think this one is a gunner. I don't think it will ever recover. Yep, it is as hard as a rock. It got petrified. So that's a gunner, first casualty for this spring, hopefully the only one. Okay, so this is the rainbow hedgehog seedlings that I repotted recently. I also made a video when I did that. Okay, so as you can see, not all of them will survive if you repot your seedlings. So some of the tiny ones did not make it, but I have a few here that so far is growing well. And some more seedlings over here. Many of this came from inside of my house, so they were growing under my Mars Hydro grow light, but now I moved them all out in here. These are some Trichocereus seedlings. Okay, and then over here, more seedlings. Nothing really special to look at, so just more seedlings. So this one gets less shade, so I have my Thanksgiving or Easter cactus right here. I'm always confused which is which. Okay, some Tello cactus seedlings, more rainbow hedgehog. Okay, from this section, as you can see, the sun is now starting to shine very bright and it is getting hot. So let's move on to this rack. I have a few here that are in flower. First, this one, this Lobevia. I have no ID on this one, but it is a prolific bloomer. I cut the top off last summer because it was growing too tall and was leaning over, and the pot keeps tipping over, so I decided to cut the top off. I think this is the one, the top. Look, the top one has rooted and is now also forming flowers, but now it is forming pops. I should have cut it even lower, but anyway, I will take off the pops and try to root them when they're bigger. But this is the mother plant of the recent cactus seedling that I showed you in one of my recent videos. So this produced a seed, a fruit with seeds, and I planted the seeds, and that seedling flowered for the first time, and I was surprised. The flower turned out to be a pure yellow. I don't know who the father of that seedling is, but this is definitely the mother. I got the seeds from this plant. As you can see, it is like a pink magenta color, but the flower of the seedling turned out to be pure yellow. And then here, a couple of Lobevia arachnacantha, which are still trying to open its flowers. Okay, so here's one, another one right here, and then down here, this is a Sulcorebutia zavalatae. This suffered severe dehydration last summer. It lost its roots, but I'm glad that it is recovering. That's why the cactus looks like that, looks weird. It got severely dehydrated, but now it's slowly plumping back up and again producing flowers. This is the night blooming Echinopsis mirabilis. Look at all the fruits in here. I just couldn't keep it straight. I guess it has grown very tall now. I've had this for several years, so it's always leaning, but look, it produced so many fruits. Even though I don't pollinate this one, this is self-fertile. I know now that this is self-fertile because it would only produce one flower each day, and yet they get pollinated and they produce fruits. Okay, so I have more in here. Ooh, this one is in bud as well. This is another Lobevia wrightiana. Okay, so I do not have any specific organization in here. It's just how I can fit the pots in the rack, and if I see some that are starting to burn, I just try to tuck them, you know, inside where they will get less sun. And then down at the bottom rack here, this is the Echinopsis engelmannii. This one, I bought this from Cactus Joe nursery here in Vegas. It recently got uprooted by the wind, and I made a video when I repotted this one, so hopefully it will recover. Okay, so this is one of the Rebutia hiliosa that I grafted. Looks like it's a success. It is growing. Okay, and then this is down blooming. That's the Gymnocalycium root sheath. This is my one and only Eriocarpus that I got from my San Gabriel Valley Cactus and Succulent show last winter. So this is an Eriocarpus hybrid. It is grafted. I still have to repot them. I wanted to repot my plant haul from that show altogether, but somehow the others, they are doing something. They're blooming or they're producing buds, so I didn't want to disturb them while they are in buds. So that's why I still haven't repotted all of them. So they're still in their nursery pots, but I do have to repot them very soon before the weather gets too hot. Okay, and then this is a columnar that I planted in this very big pot because I know these will grow tall. This is Myrtillo cactus. Okay, and then in here, so I have aloes. Aloe Crosby's prolific. This one produced one seed pod. That's why I'm not cutting off this flower stalk yet. I don't know if I want to keep it though, but for now it's there. Okay, this is the Blue Elf aloe. This also produced a seed pod. I don't know, maybe the bees crossed their flowers. Okay, and this is an agave, Euphorbia millii there. I think that is the ready red one, I'm not sure. And then this is my very tall Mexican fence post. So I did a repotting video of this, I think 2 years ago. They were still, this tall one was about this tall, but they have grown so much, and this tall columnar here is almost my height, guys. I mean, I'm just maybe a couple of inches taller than this now. So it is doing very well in this big terracotta pot. Let's move further to the right to this table right here. So I have a few more cacti in here. So see, this is again one of the cactus that I bought from the show, from the San Gabriel show. And look, this is a Matucana and it is in bud. See, that's why I don't want to repot them yet, because I don't want them to drop their buds. This is another one, a Daiso cactus. Okay, when I bought this, it doesn't have that cephalium yet, and I was surprised it produced the cephalium, because they said after it produces this woolly cephalium, it should start flowering. So that just popped up like a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know if it will flower. And this one just recently flowered. Okay, this is a Succulents Rauchi violacedermis. Whew, mouthful. Okay, so this also just recently flowered, and there's a few more buds in there. And then this is Ubelmania pectinifera, one of my wish list cactus that I now have. Now this one doesn't seem to be doing anything, so it's ready for repotting. But again, I want to repot them all together so I can show them to you. Okay, and these are some of the arrangements that I did. Okay, ooh, this is nice. And then underneath the table here, This is where I kept the Rebutia seedlings that I recently got from Brian. My friend in Puerto Rico sent me these seedlings. He grew this himself and shared some of his seedlings with me. So here they are, Brian. Oh, I cannot believe this. This one is already in bud. Which one is this? Rebutia maxima. Oh, wow. Brian, one of them is blooming now. Okay, so they're all in here. So far, so good. Okay, from there, let's move over to here. This is my oldest golden barrel. When I got this one, it was the size of even smaller than a tennis ball. And I've had this for maybe 5 years, I would say. And I did a video when I planted it in this terracotta bowl, and back then the bowl looked so much too big actually for the cactus, but I did it purposely that way because I know this golden barrel will become bigger and I did not want to deal with it often. As much as possible, I want this one to live in this pot as long as it can before I would have to move it again to a bigger pot or maybe plant it in the ground. But look, now this pot is perfect size for it. I'm just waiting for it to flower. It hasn't flowered for me yet, but golden barrels, they need to have a certain age and size before they will start flowering, and that's how you know that you have a mature golden barrel, if they do start to flower. Okay, from this golden barrel, I have a little bit of pots there of cactus underneath this tree.